The Peridot team is amazing.
Our artists are not just creative visual art geniuses, but they're very technical as well.
I love how communicative we all are and how open to ideas from anyone.
I've never been on a team where there's so much like buy-in.
Everyone's really passionate about the project. Everyone's just inspired off of each other.
The process of ideating on what the creature should look like has evolved over time. Ultimately, there was a lot of concept art by our concept artists. And the very initial process was kind of looking at that concept art and saying, okay, how can we break down these concepts into different categories, tail, ears, horns. How can we turn these into chromosomes, kind of, that we can express as genes? Since then, now that we have that genetic framework to work off of, artists will now play with the genetic system that I've designed.
Lauren has created this unbelievably amazing procedural system that, you just tweak a number and you get an ear that looks like a spiral shell. I come up with an idea, see if I can get it to work in the procedural generator. Once we figure that out, we start doing like iterative sketches, showing it to people, getting reactions until we've narrowed it down to something that everyone is really enchanted with.
The animations have been so amazing. There are all these personality ones. So now all the dots, not only are they procedurally generated and they look different, but there's so many more personalities coming out of each of them now.
These personalities, they're surfaced in the game as descriptive text, but also you may notice that they actually influence the animations that the dots play.
If you have a dot that's sort of somber, it's gonna walk a little bit slower, it's gonna look a little bit more like it's thinking about things carefully, maybe it'll be sleeping or resting more, versus if you have a very energetic personality dot, it's going to be running around and bounding more, searching its environment more than the somber dot.
They really have an incredible sense of realness to them. Sentiments really come through. I mean, we're talking about on a mobile screen with a lot of potential noise behind on a camera that's moving around, but it really shines through all of that.
Eventually, we settled on this creature that is kind of cat-like, no mouth, a little bit alien, has a weird kind of mask-like thing, but still extremely cute, got the big eyes. And we did a lot of studying of actual animals for this. We looked up a lot of reference videos of dogs and cats moving around. When we generate the patterns on the creatures, it actually mimics the way real creatures generate patterns using a cellular automata algorithm that mimics the way that real creatures make their patterns, that cells interact with each other. It's completely unique. It's sort of evolved based on the random parameters in your .dna, and it's very organic in kind of a literal sense.
I lead the engineering group. We're expanding the tool set that our designers and artists are using to make the game, in addition to creating all of the behaviors and gameplay that exists within the game itself.
The actual animations themselves are created by our talented animators. As technical artists, I try to make the animations basically string them together as accurately as possible. I also work with designers to do the initial planning on what we want the creature to eventually do, and that goes to animators, and that comes back to technical artists so we can implement it. And sometimes there's an additional step where we need engineers to tell our servers oh, this is what the creature has done today.
I make all the features sort of work in the back end, testing our loads, making sure that the game is performing well, that it can handle the amount of users we expect.
Peridots really do understand the world, and they do that using AI.
The Peridot can actually recognize sand versus water.
When it sees another pet, a dog or a cat in the real world, it reacts to that.
My Peridot could look at me and tell that I'm a human.
The Peridots can even run ahead of you into space that you just barely looked at. You don't have to pre-scan. You've got a character that's looking around, making the most of the situation, and then interacting with you on that basis.
Those kinds of things really bring a lot of magic and a lot of joy. The first time we see players experiencing this, they're like, oh my God, it knows that it's dirt. That's amazing.
Every dot is absolutely unique, and we're striving for maximum genetic diversity of dots. We want to populate the world with a bunch of very unique, flavorful, out there different creatures.
Peridot encourages players to play together, to have their dot meet other dots, and you need that connection between individual people in order for your dots to hatch new dots.
Hatching new dots, how that works is we take your dot and the other player's dot. We take both traits from the dots and the colors, and we randomize it and then present the keeper with 3 similar but also distinct choices so that they feel that their new dot is a combination of both parents.
Because player dots are going to be inheriting their genes from each other largely, we foresee a kind of cross-pollination effect where the main source of new and diverse genes will be actually people moving from region to region. If you have a dot from one region where your local set of players is kind of circulating the same set of traits, and you bring it to a new region, then that will be a new and exciting dot and its genes will spread. We're very excited to see how this goes.